So I just did the intro, everybody. Andy Edleman here with Rich Foster. Forgot to turn the microphone on. Hopefully you can hear us. If you can't, if you think the volume's not quite up to where it should be, or if it's clipping, shoot us a post there, and we'll take a look at it and adjust it.
Hope you folks are all doing well out there and staying safe.
So far, COVID-19 has not struck anybody in the M.T.H family. We are working remotely to some degree. Today we've been dodging thunderstorms and tornadoes.
Yeah, big tornado warning here today, which is odd for us, rare.
It is rare. Rich ran into my office, freaked out actually a little bit, and said, "You get your car and hide it because a tornado's coming." And the radar didn't really show much of a tornado in my mind, but whatever. It was better than having a tornado and not knowing about it, I guess. Anyway, we're all safe, and I think the weather has pretty much passed through, and apparently we're going back to winter. High temperatures will be about 50 degrees and lows in the 30s, so I'm getting kind of tired of that.
I am too. Feel. Of course, the golf courses are closed down, so what difference does it make at this point?
I did work on my short game yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
You should.
Well, perhaps, but I think I did okay with it, frankly. So I'm getting a text from my man Charles. They can hear us, so that's good. So what we're going to do today is give you some updates on what's coming in this week, and go over a couple of products that came in or will be coming in, as well as some that came in last week and the week before. Well, actually, a couple of weeks ago, I think. And Rich is going to try to demonstrate just how technologically savvy he is in regard to the DCS Wi-Fi app. This is a great time when we're all stuck at home to be working on our layouts. I had a call with Steve Berniason at Ross Custom Switches earlier
How's
this
Steve
week.
doing?
Steve's doing well.
Good.
Says he's quite busy. So that means that folks are out there calling him up, placing orders for track and whatnot.
Using their home time to work on their layout.
Indeed.
That's good.
Have you worked on yours at all?
No. Nothing but yard work for me.
Nothing but yard work. Well, you like to do that kind of stuff. Yeah, and I truthfully have not worked on my layout either, just the short game.
Okay.
I'm confident that I'll be back on the golf course. It's springtime, and that's where I'd like to be. The other thing that is going on is York Week is coming up, and of course it's going to be a little bit different than it has been in the past since there's no show this year. But we are still building our York car, and they're due in here this week.
That's
correct. And we are going to give a car away today to whoever is the 40th person to post a comment on the Facebook site. Why 40? Because it's our 40th anniversary. Rich, how long have you worked here?
32 years.
32 years. So you're pretty old.
I'm feeling it too.
Well, you look pretty old.
Thank you.
But I did see that you got your hair cut. How did you get your hair cut in this kind of environment?
I allowed my wife to take a pair of scissors near my throat, which is always a dicey proposition. I did ask her to stop if she came to an ear, and
Well, that's pretty gutsy of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to say that's pretty gutsy. I'm going on 6 weeks, and I'm afraid of what's going to happen. I might grow a mullet.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I think it'd take you back a little bit to your early days in this industry, really.
I think so. So we'll see. But you look good, even though you're kind of old and you haven't worked here for 32 years.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, that's all good. So we did get our winner for the car, and that would be an Andrew Schlegel from New Jersey. I have no idea how we're going to get a hold of Andrew, so he'll have to email. I think sales@mth-railking.com will be the best way to do that.
Congratulations, Andrew.
And we'll be sending that car to you next week after they get in here. They should be here toward the end of this week if Customs doesn't hold them up too much. And hopefully that won't happen. So the other thing that's going to happen this week, and I mentioned it at the outset, was the receipt of a bunch of new products that are coming in. And Rich and I will try to go through that list. It's on the website at mthtrains.com/news/001A. And there's quite a few things on that list. Rich, perhaps you could chat about them. It's going by kind of quick, but you can come back and pause this list if you watch the
Sure.
replay.
Well, we did get in some very nice diesels this just recently. The S2 switchers there's not a lot of those left for sure. So if you're interested in any of them, contact your MTH dealer you deal with and get on the list for one of those. Obviously, we also got in some Rio Grande Alco PA's beautiful engine, and some SD40-2s.
Yeah, I think there's a whole bunch of things on there. The GP38s that are featured on here, the SD40s, we're going to do some video of those, and we'll put that up as well. But I wanted to talk about a couple of items. This one particular car is a 60-foot flat car with three 20-foot tank containers. And the cool thing about this car that I don't think you knew from the catalog, and certainly from the website picture, is that those tanks are plated. So that finish, you can see it on the monitor there, Rich, is pretty darn. You've probably never seen that car before.
I have not laid eyes on it.
Yeah.
But the plated product we have been bringing in, it's always been very popular. The finish is fantastic. Very, very nice.
The one thing about that car that is a difficulty for us, and it's really kind of true with all of our plated products, is the failure rate of the plating process can cause a lot of rejects. That's why typically those cars or locomotives are going to be a little bit more expensive than a regular painted car, because we do have a lot of loss.
Correct.
When we're doing that.
There's some spoilage there.
Indeed, and it's one of the reasons why, and I think we had a lot of folks ask us about it over the last couple of episodes, why our Rail King Empire State Express is so late, and that's one of the reasons. The doggone thing has been difficult to plate.
Yes.
And I don't think people really understood that it was going to be plated, but it's going to be a neat thing when it does come in. And that, I think we are shooting at exiting factory soon to be here in June. I believe,
Yes,
is what the
should be
target
June.
is. The other car that's pretty cool that was in that list, and again, it's news/001A if you want to see the list of product that's coming in this week. This particular car has actually come in once before, so this is the back orders of them,
Yeah.
I believe. And this would be the duck load on top of the flat car, the U.S. Army flat car. And tell us a little bit about these diecast accessories that are coming. These
Well, the military
accessories.
loads have been extremely popular. We've, done the Bradley fighting vehicle, the M1A1. This is just the latest. They've been on U.S. Army flats with the beautiful detailed diecast loads, so they've been very popular.
Yeah, we had, I think, Mike on with Train World last week
Yes.
talking about them, showed a whole bunch of the different cars. So we're going to continue that series. In fact, we've got those loads being sold separately. They will be featured in the 2020 Volume 2 catalog when it comes out next week. And you can buy those loads separately and build your own military set if you want.
Correct.
The first two loads, I believe, are the Bradley, and I think is it the Humvee?
I think the Humvee.
Humvee.
Yeah.
Which the Humvee is in the new catalog, and I think Mike mentioned that. Hopefully, otherwise, you guys just got a little tidbit into what's coming out in that new catalog. So the other thing is a couple of items that did come in late last month, including our Premier E8. And the neat thing about the E8 is that it is going to be a little bit different from model to model, and this is not unusual for us when it comes to locomotives, where we've kind of tweaked the detail levels. The E8s, typically we can't do that as well as we would like with other locomotives because
Yeah.
the tooling is older. But this particular one, the New York Central, has ditch lights on it, operating ditch lights
right.
there. The other paint schemes do not. They include Rock Island, EMD, New York Central, obviously here, and Pennsylvania. And we show some of these other schemes. I believe the Rock Island in this particular video. So that's kind of, well, maybe we don't, but oh, here it is right here. Rock Island, my bad. That's a neat looking scheme, but no ditch lights on that because prototypically it
They
wasn't
didn't
supposed
have
to have
them,
them.
no.
Right. So the earliest E units were virtually custom made, and people probably don't realize that. And there were a number of different models, E5s, E7s, E6s, and they all had a different nose than these. This was really the standard of the E series. And the most that were produced, and they often said it rode like a Cadillac.
Like a Cadillac.
Like a Cadillac,
Okay.
indeed. So kind of neat. Now here, the other one that's in this particular list is the Santa Fe. And this is a good example of the plated finish.
Yes,
on the
also
Santa
has the
Fe. Right.
plating.
So, anybody asking us any questions about that? I don't see. Do you see any questions on those? I do not. Oh, here's the comments. There we go. Let's see. I need to see them all, and I can't see them all. You'll have to work on that while I jump to the next item, which will be our GP38. And then we'll jump into your ability to tell us about DCS. Or would you like to do that now?
Sure, we can do that.
We can do that now. All right. Let me just key that up. Tell us about your technological strengths there, Rich.
They're pretty much inverted. So I'm pretty much the MTH tech moron here, and I'm proud of that, really. But when I'm talking to folks at shows all the time, when we have shows, and hopefully we'll get back to them, some of our older gentlemen in particular are not jumping at the bit to run their trains using the app. They prefer to stick with their security blanket of the handheld. But I tell them all the time that I can run this app, any human being can run it, and I don't even pick the handheld up anymore. So I can't tell you, it is extremely intuitive, extremely easy, and you should give it a try, and I almost guarantee you're going to end up using the app.
So this particular video that we had playing shows how to go get the app from either the Google Play or the Apple iStore. And once you've got it set up on your on your phone or your tablet, then it's simply a matter of opening it up and connecting to either a DCS Explorer or the DCS WiFi. Now, what are the differences between those two pieces?
Well, the Explorer is a little more of an entry-level product. It can run 3 trains, and you have access to the features that are on the free app. For those that are a little more DCS comfortable, have a TIU already, you're going to want to upgrade to the premium app and use the WIU, connect that to your TIU, and then just follow the directions on the manual, and it's pretty simple to do. If I can do it, anybody can do it, and then you'll have everything that the handheld can do and then some.
Now, are there limitations to the WIU versus the TIU?
The only one I know of is the microphone. Is that correct?
Well, no, Rich. See, this is why you're a tech idiot.
Okay.
Okay. So the
Enlighten me.
WIU, I will. The WIU and the TIU are considerably different in the sense that you can do a lot more with TIUs than you can WIUs. A WIU is going to limit you to 3 engines, and
No, you're talking about the Explorer.
I am talking about the Explorer.
Then
Perhaps I'm the tech idiot. I showed the Explorer picture up there. Perhaps you could have corrected me before I made a fool of myself.
you threw me a
I
curveball right
understand.
there.
So tell us about the differences between the WIU.
Well, like I said, the Explorer is kind of an entry-level product. It can only run 3 trains, and you can't do the more complex things like lash up engines, etc. But one thing the Explorer is great for, if you have a layout in your basement, whatnot, but you'll put up a train garden during the holidays, for example. It's perfect for that because you're typically not doing lash ups and whatnot on a garden around the tree type thing. So it can run 3 different trains, and very simple to do. Just plug any MTH brick, a 50 watt, 75, 100 watt brick in there, and you're ready to go.
So which version of the app would you use with the WIU?
Free.
The free version. So if you had the standard or the premium version, would any of those features work?
No.
They would not. So we get that question sometimes from folks who don't understand why the...
if you just have the Explorer, do not upgrade your app.
Right. That's basically
Yeah.
the deal. If you upgrade it, you spend some money. We appreciate it because we always want to have money. But you can't use any of those features.
Correct.
Right. So it's really more of a way to get people into the use of a phone to run their layout. And it's super simple. I had a customer contact us about why he was limited to 3 engines, and I explained it, and I said to him, but you can easily delete an engine and add a 4th or a 5th
Correct.
or a 6th and just keep cycling engines in and out. And it's super, super simple. It only takes a few seconds. Unlike the standard traditional DCS system, which uses the physical remote and the TIU, you had to we kind of recommended a programming track.
Yes.
And with the Explorer or the WIU,
Correct.
you don't need that.
No.
And it's really quick.
It is. Instead of loading one engine at a time, it loads multiples. And it's very simple. The thing I love about the app as well is your soft keys are all spelled out. You don't have to remember, what those little acronyms were.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. I think you did reasonably well. If and when we get back to doing shows, and you come up and you ask Rich, he'll be happy to pull out his phone and show you how to do it. He may drop his phone onto the floor, and he may scratch and cut his fingers open because I believe your screen is all messed up.
New case.
All right. Good for
The old case did its job, but it was time for a new one.
Okay. All right. Good job. Good job.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. What we're going to do in future COVID-19 bunker episodes is show you some more functions that the DCS system can do when you're controlling it with the app. A couple of weeks ago, we showed how to use a DCC controller to trigger the smoking whistles on our locomotives, in particular the HO. The process is the same for any of the Premier engines. And we'll show how to do that with DCS and the Wi-Fi app. You will need the, I want to say premium.
I think so.
I believe so, to trigger those features. But we'll show you how to do that.
And look, folks, they're not mutually exclusive. You can still use your handheld and use the app. If you have friends come over to your house, a nephew, whatnot, they walk in. If you've got the WIU connected to the TIU, they can put the free app on their device and run trains with you, up to 3 trains, and you don't need multiple remotes, things of that nature. And you can still use your handheld. Let your nephew or grandson or somebody use an app, because they're all carrying a smart device around with them.
They are, and as you said, it's unlimited. As many people as you want to have connect to the WIU or the the Explorer, either one. So when we start talking about locomotive limitations, if you had a WIU and you had 10 locomotives and you had 3 or 4 people in there, you could run all 10 of those locomotives with each person using a different app to run the locomotives. So that's a pretty slick thing. And I'm going to start checking some comments here, but I'm going to throw up the next thing we want to talk about, and that's our Premier Line GP38s that came in March. And Rich, why don't you just chat about that while I look at some of these comments and see what we can do with some questions for folks.
Well, like a lot of the diesels, there's different body configurations based on the road name, horn type, horn location, lighting, ditch lights, whatever. Some with beacons and dynamic brakes or not. There's quite a few road names: Toledo, Peoria, and Western, East Penn Railroad, D&H, Central Texas and Colorado, Elgin, Joliet, and Eastern. So there's a lot of choices for folks and some sharp-looking paint schemes. And of course, virtually every railroad owned a 38-2, and so they're almost can't be out of place on your pike.
Yeah, that's true, and we talked about the different detail levels that the tooling affords. You can see in the video the East Penn has dynamic brakes, but we'll see that that's not always the case with other models. Here's the Elgin, also with dynamic brakes. The horn is in a different location, and check that out. It's got a beacon on the top. That's the only one of these GP38-2s that we did with this particular run that has that beacon, but that's what Elgin did, warning beacon on their particular model. So you'll see those kind of differences, and that's what really makes this pretty darn cool. Norfolk Southern, this obviously people are going to see these, and it's got the big radiator box up on top of the cab. But now here, the TP and W will be, I believe, one of these that does not have the dynamic brake, and indeed it does not. So the tooling has to be configured that way before we ever cut the steel. You can't add or take away detail levels once you've got a model that you've already tooled up for. It won't work. So we have to do that in the beginning. So compare the GP38-2s to the E8s that we looked at a few moments ago, and we could drill in holes for those ditch lights, but we couldn't change vents and things like that on the top. And that's what makes things a little bit more tricky when you're doing different road names, if you've started with old tooling versus the current tooling.
Yeah, sometimes it can be modified, but it's very difficult and very expensive as well.
So our winner today, Andrew Schlegel, who won the 40th anniversary York car, also asked us if we will see coilable whistles in the Rail King lineup, a question that we get quite often. And the real issue there isn't anything other than our desire to create those whistles.
That's correct.
The hardware that's in your Rail King locomotives versus your Premier locomotives in terms of the Protosound 3 boards are the same. And we could put other things in there. It's just a lot of effort for our sound engineers. And
we have a big
we got a
wasp in here.
Yeah. I got stung in the warehouse a couple of weeks ago.
Did you?
I did. It hurt. It's like
I
my
can
wrist
see
was on fire.
you've swollen up.
Well,
so you
yeah.
must have had an allergic reaction.
Are you calling me fat? That's rude. That is rude. Interestingly, Frank McQuillan, or Quillen, has asked about a McKean car. Rich, what is the McKean car?
The McKean car is, didn't we make a rapid prototype of that at one time?
Indeed we did.
We didn't get a whole lot of orders for that time, so we do have a design for it, I suppose, so we have invested some money in it. It was basically a rural type of
interurban
way to get some mail and a few passengers around inexpensively.
Yeah, it looked like a ship, in my opinion. It was
a
shaped in the front.
A Jules Verne looking.
Yeah, exactly.
Model.
What was that movie? Around the World?
20,000
20,000 Leagues. Yeah. So I don't know. A lot of people ask for it, but nobody really wanted to.
We
pony
might
up.
have to float that again. It has been a while, and see if it was if the response is going to be better this time.
Well, yeah, who knows? Time will tell. It's difficult to make that decision and pull the trigger when the interest isn't as good as you'd like.
Yeah.
So, any chances on a Lackawanna Railroad Pocono? That's a 484. So there's a locomotive that is pretty unique looking, but not a lot of fans behind the Lackawanna. So it's not a universal type of design. So a paint scheme like that would be something I could see in the Rail King line, but probably not in the Premier line, and the Rail King line would be using an existing tool.
Yeah.
ACS 64 is the Siemens Amtrak engine. We get a lot of people asking for that. Amtrak is, in my opinion, a necessary evil for a product line entry for
Yeah.
all of the manufacturers because it's existing out there in the real
Sure.
world.
Yeah.
And the most recent Amtrak prototype we have is F59, so we're pretty far behind.
Yeah,
on
we're
that.
behind the times.
Yeah.
That-
So hard to say. One of the things that we do love about this Facebook stuff is all of the comments that we get from folks. So as I've said before in the past, in order for us to succeed, we have to have the feedback that the consumer provides us. So by all means, keep that going. Let's see. White Pass and Yukon just released a beautiful engine with their yellow and green paint scheme. Will we do it? Well, we won't do a prototype for White Pass and Yukon, but we could do
Yeah.
a paint scheme. We haven't done very many of those, if any. Can you recall a White Pass and Yukon? I'm going to pop open the database here and take a quick look. I don't remember doing one.
I don't either. Of
Okay.
course, my memory is not what it once was, so I will
Why is that?
age,
Oh,
maybe a cocktail or two here and there.
I see. Well, let's just take a quick gander. If you ever go to the MTH website, and please don't fault either one of us for not knowing this right off the top of our head, there's over 31,000 items on that website. So it's impossible for us to remember without going to our database and taking a gander at what kind of road names we've done in the past. So we may look and act stupid. It's because we are, and we just can't remember everything that we've done. 4 entries for White Pass. Well, there's 2 entries for White Pass, and then 2 entries for White Pass and Yukon. All rolling stock, never a locomotive. So,
Okay.
you'd think a good sales guy would have
You'd
noted
think,
that.
You'd think a good VP of marketing might have
Maybe.
also noticed and
Maybe.
thrown that into the mix.
Yeah, well, we can't all be the smart guy. All right, you see any other comments out there, Rich? When will the new MTH HO Berkshires? I just updated the schedule on those, and they're in June. They'll be here in June. We currently have, and we showed you that list earlier, new/001A for what's due to arrive this week. Tomorrow, that list will get changed to what's coming in at the end of the month. If there's anything coming in, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
There's one in early May.
Okay, then that list will stay up for
Yeah.
2 more weeks, and then in early May, we have 2 in May, on the water right now.
Yeah, and be a little patient. We have our crack warehouse expert and head of operations, Ryan Eisman, is the only one working back there. I could offer to help unload the container with him when it gets here, but with social distancing.
Yeah, we can't do that. He's
Yeah,
not doing it himself. You're in a confined area.
A confined
Yeah,
area,
yeah,
and
absolutely not.
so unfortunately, he may drop dead from unloading the container himself, but at least he'll get it unloaded, I expect, before he expires.
Right. Maybe Mike will help him, and they'll both drop.
Oh, my.
Yeah, could happen. Kenny Bianco posted, like to know who your favorite MTH authorized retailer is.
Well, that's really hard to say. There are just so many good ones out there. Obviously, the Bianco family has been a very good friend of ours, and keep up the good work, Kenny. We appreciate it.
We actually think all of the MTH authorized retailers are good, and we just can't call any one particular one out, with the exception of maybe what was that guy named Mel Price.
God rest his soul. Yes.
Also, Charles Hirschberg, Dr. Hirschberg, would like to
Oh,
know
yeah,
what.
he's OBGYN.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is. He'd like to know what you do for MTH.
What do? I kind of draw a paycheck and try to act busy most of the time, and I hide. which is a pretty good way to avoid anything that I don't want to do.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent. Shout out by Terry Holt for Lynn's Trains.
okay.
So, no, I'm not going to answer that one, Charlie. So that's no good. All right. So the big thing, folks, is patience, maintaining your distance, checking out the Premiere E8 video. It's on the website. GP38 video will be on the website this week. It's on our YouTube channel already. And then a couple of more videos coming out, ST40-2s that we saw that
Yep.
are on the water. Just shot a bunch of, I want to say, C630s and C628 Rail King scale engines. What's a Rail King scale engine versus a Rail King engine?
It's really the old Premier tooling from way back in the day. Some of it over 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that really couldn't be brought up to the standards of where the hobby was going and where our new tooling was going. So we didn't want to just get rid of that tooling, so we rolled it into the Rail King line. It's not as detailed as the Premier product is, but it's good looking stuff, and if you want to go scale on a budget, Rail King scale is a good way to go.
All right. Well, they're part of that list,
Yeah.
and that just came in, and so we'll have that video up here in another few days. I'm working from home a lot of times to do that. Come into the office a couple of days a week. You're working here. You're not at home, right?
Well, like I said, it was either coming to work or my marriage was at stake, so I pretty much have to be in here.
But the interpretive dance moves, doesn't that keep your marriage?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes my wife doesn't appreciate some of those
All right,
moves.
well, I'm with her on that. Have you ever had to stay home for an extended period of time?
No, not really.
What about with the gravity boots?
Oh, well, I wasn't I wasn't out for long when I got the concrete shampoo. No, I managed to get back in a couple of days.
But that could explain your memory problems.
Oh, sure it could.
Excellent. Well, folks, that's it from the COVID-19 bunker. Rich he no longer has gravity boots. In case you don't know what they are, you hang upside down. And if you don't secure them properly, this is what you get.
It wasn't the boots that were secured improperly. It was the bar.
Oh, the bar. Well, whatever. It
So-
was a failure to secure.
Yes, it was pretty gruesome.
Yes. All right. So thanks for joining us. Hopefully we didn't waste too much of your time today with our update. Next week, we try to do this every Monday. Last week we attempted, but I had a major technological implosion, as it were. So apologies, but we'll try to do this every week. For those of you who don't know, there is going to be a special York Train World Facebook Live event both Thursday and Friday. Did you read the teaser from him?
I did.
Yeah.
I did read
Right,
it.
that's good. It's professional of you.
Yeah.
I believe that Kenny's dividing it up between retailers and manufacturers to some degree, with Thursday being some retailers. He's got that on his site. We'll share that information as well through our newsletters. And then I think all the manufacturers are doing it Friday. I believe it's in the evening.
Yes, it is in the evening. It'll give you a little taste of, York without York, I suppose.
York without York. We'll be publishing our catalog that day. We won't go through the catalog page by page or anything, but I'm sure we'll touch on a few things. I'm not sure how we're going to do it yet, whether you and I and Mike will do it, or if it'll just be one of us, or
I won't work with Mike, so
well, that takes
it's-
you out of it. If, he
Mike wants to
in.
be in, it's
Right.
going to be either him
Right.
solo or you can work with him. 'Cause
I can't work with him
No,
either. No, absolutely not. Anyway, we look forward to seeing you next week, and look forward to seeing you through the Train World Facebook Live event as well. Stay safe, maintain your distancing. We'll see you soon.
Take care, folks.